to accept the minutes of March 10th, 2025 as submitted. Roll call vote, please.
Jane Gleason, aye.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair votes aye. We have a roll call vote of 5-0-0. The minutes of March 10th, 2025 are accepted as submitted. Okay. Just a note, we do note that there are some gaps on the minutes for 2025 posted on the town website. We acknowledge that. We're working to get them posted as required. Moving on. Plan 1 Josh, just in terms of the numbering scheme, the 125 is, what is that? I'm looking at the agenda. It's Plan 25-2, Robert S. Cheryl Jr., A&R 1 West Boulevard. The 125 is what, the old numbering scheme? So
The old numbering scheme.
Okay, so, okay.
Yep.
So, it's probably, this is not a public hearing, this is an application for approval not required, so I'm opening it for discussion. Any comment or discussion? Mike?
No, I mean, I guess, is Ken on? No.
Ken is on.
Ken is on,
Ken's on.
okay.
Just, and we haven't really done this in the past, but just, Ken to confirm that they submitted a complete application. I'd like just to start putting that on the record,
Yeah.
seeing that's what our rules and regs require.
So ask Ken or Josh, can you confirm
Can you just
that?
confirm we have a complete application for our folks here?
Yes, we have a complete application.
Yes, yes, thank you, Ken.
Okay, then my only question to the planning board, they have proper frontage, they have, my review is they have proper frontage on a accredited way, is that correct?
That's correct.
West Boulevard, yep.
And their taxes are all paid?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a verification form is here.
Is there anyone from the app? Oh, come on forward, thank you. State your name for the record and spell your last name, please.
Sure. Sam Iamele, Iamele.
And you are representing,
I'm representing the owner applicant.
and your role is?
I'm with JC Engineering, the engineering firm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So as an engineer, please remain standing. Because you're an engineer and you're going to make professional testimony, please raise your right hand and swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and complete to the best of your knowledge.
I do.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been asked to certify professional testimony.
Yeah.
Okay, so please, you want to just give us a brief comment, and we'll move forward.
Sure, yes. Just open this one here. So the subject property here is shown as Lot 1032 on Assessor's Map 1, addressed as 1 West Boulevard. The entire parcel has just over 56,000 square feet of land area. It's mapped in the Onset Business Village District, and there currently exists one existing building on the lot. And the purpose of this plan before you is to simply create 2 lots from the one existing lot. One proposed new lot line will create the separation of the 2 lots. And it has adequate frontage along West Boulevard, both lots, and same for lot area for this zoning district.
No handouts?
I'm sorry?
No handouts?
So you can look at that.
I've got the one, they posted
See,
this.
does it say, according to the article, this does not represent an endorsement? Yeah, okay. So we don't say that the zoning, the subdivision lot, or the new lots may meet any zoning requirements at all.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it was attached to the application.
yeah. Any discussion? Mike?
I think, this is JC Engineering?
Correct, yep.
Take word back to your boss. We want copies so we can look at.
Well, we should have gotten some email, but bring copies to the meeting is what he's asking for.
Sure, certainly.
Yeah, there should have been, does the application filing,
What is that folder there?
oh, are they in here? She just dropped it.
Oh, it looks like they might be in there.
There's the 8 copies.
Yep. The big copy, yeah. And the application had the smaller version, too.
Okay. This
Okay.
just came in like last minute. Here you go, Mike. Thank you. We did get the copies requested. Sam, you want a copy?
Please.
I've got my copy, I think I can
Thanks.
see it.
And I have my copy. Okay. Thank you so much. So, any discussion? Mike, you have any questions?
Well, I'm looking at the frontage here, I see 70 feet on West Boulevard, that's where the frontage is coming from?
Correct, yeah, 50 is the minimum required.
Which district is R30?
This is Onset Business District,
Oh,
OB1.
B1, okay.
My assumption is that any improvement would probably go in the back, given it's pretty narrow.
Well, yeah, we're not, that
I know.
all comes when they do
Yes.
that. Josh, do you have any comment?
Meet the minimum requirements.
I'll give Mike a second to process. Mike is our resident historian, so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, hearing no discussion. Jane, any comment?
She's muted.
Can't hear you.
I think I'm good.
You good?
Okay, thank you. All right, hearing no discussion, I accept a motion to,
Make a motion to accept the A and R for One West Boulevard.
Yep. Second?
I have a motion from Mr. Corbett, a second from Ms. Moran. A roll call vote, please, starting with Ms. Gleason.
Jane Gleason, aye.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair votes aye. Hearing a vote of 5-0-0, the motion to approve or accept that this is a approval not required plan is accepted. And we'll sign, we need to sign the,
We'll do that now?
yeah, let's just sign it now, and then, do we give this to you, Josh? Or is he's gonna take it?
Then we
I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Sam.
Sam, okay.
don't have Jane, but you're okay.
I keep running over this yellow thing on the floor. I can't get my chair to move. Today is 3/24.
I would be able to come in on the 31st and sign if I need to.
No, I think we'll have 4 signatures. Josh, do we have a copy for Sonia to sign? One of these copies? She normally looks for a signed copy as well.
Do you want us to sign a paper one? Is this for her records?
there a big paper one?
There is, yeah.
Let's,
You could just sign it for her records, is that
yeah,
what
she
you use
always
it
looks
for?
for, she
That's
always
what I
asks
thought.
for
Yeah,
a... Is that all of them for that copy? Okay. Well, I knew I liked you, left-handed. So,
Yeah, but we do this. You do it when,
yeah. And-
Thank you, Josh.
right, Carl.
That's That's for Josh, yeah, and then, you could, wait, and then we'll just fold this up, Josh, and you can take the whole binder. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me it was there.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you. Okay.
Approved, the A&R was approved. 2423, Town of Wareham, modification request the site plan review special permit, 6 Tony's Lane, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Did you see, you saw this?
I saw that, yes.
Did you see, do you have, yep, you got it, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you. Yep, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. State your name
Sarah Greenberg, GHD.
and spell your last name.
Sorry, Sarah Greenberg, last name Greenberg.
And you're going to give testimony, so please swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do,
Thank you. All right. So thank you for coming back.
of course.
When you were last here, we just asked for a review by the town's consulting engineer, which we have received. Mr. Farady or Mr. Buckland, do you want to summarize? I think Phil did it, right? Phil's comments?
Yep, so I'll just, he said to a formal letter, but I'll
Yeah,
just
he
read
did,
the end of
yes,
it.
yes.
The responses and materials submitted by the applicant adequately address the modification proposed. The resulting site plan changes are improvements to the prior version, as this allows for no tree removal and for the facility to be in a better location adjacent to the main office. A&M has no further technical issues on the materials as submitted and defers to the planning board for further action.
Okay, great. So I think the question before, do you want to make any comment or not talking past the sale?
No, I think that was a great summary, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So the decision before us is this, I think, a major or minor modification? And then depending on that decision, the next action will be determined. So discussion?
I mean, I see it as a minor modification. I'm also pleased that it improves the site. And that you did respond promptly and did some minor updates to the plan, so I consider it a minor modification.
Mike, any comment? Jane?
I would agree with Julie. I think it's minor. I think it's an improvement over what was previously proposed. And I read through Alan Major's comments and didn't see anything that raised any red flags for me, so.
Thank you. So I would look for a motion to designate this as a minor modification and refer to the town planner for, which is what the bylaw says, the town planner can dispose of a minor modification.
So moved.
So I have a motion from Mr. Corbett,
Second?
second from Ms. Moran, a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Gleason.
Jane Gleason, aye.
Mr. Beck.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion to designate this as a minor modification and refer to action, to the town planner for action, passed 5-0-0 on a roll call vote. Thank you very much for coming back.
Thank you, board.
We have a business item. The Select Board and the Planning Board need to hold or schedule and hold an executive session to discuss pending legal matter regarding 27 CPR Solar One LLC versus the Town of Wareham. Because it's a case before the court, matters are discussed appropriately in executive session. We're attempting to schedule a meeting as soon as possible at a convenient time. I do appreciate the Select Board making an accommodation to accommodate both Jane and I, me in particular. We couldn't meet at the originally proposed date, so I'd like to look for some dates. I'm available any evening next week at any time at this point. So, are there any limitations Jane, you're back, you said on the 30th, right?
Likewise, what you said of your schedule, that I'm available next week. I'm back on Sunday, so.
Okay.
Okay, Mike, any limitations next week?
I'm happy to reach out to Chairman Whiteside if you'd like.
Well, she gave me instructions on how to,
Good.
I'll respond to
Okay, good.
Ms. In the office, I forget, Catherine. Ms. Quirk, if you want to rise, do you have any input from the select board on a preferred date? I know Jared has some overnights and, or do we want to give a date certain, or do we want to just let?
I have no further input. I would just say I'm available any night.
Okay. All right, so we need to get the notice posted to 48 hours in advance. So I'll reach out to the select board office, but if you carry the message back that the planning board is available next week, any night, pretty much at any time at the moment, we can pick a date certain and get it posted again. And pass along my thanks for the consideration of rescheduling the meeting. So I'm looking, but we don't need a motion. We don't have to vote on that, right? No, it's just, okay. All right, we got that. Moving on to item 5, the board has requested an update on the Tremont Nail Factory. Is someone from Ken or Josh, can anyone speak to the status of this?
Yeah, so the town owns the Tremont Nail Factory right now. It's the factory building, and there's a steel building alongside it. We've had some interest in maybe a lease on the actual factory building. And currently, right now, the steel building is being used for storage of municipal maintenance vehicles.
Are there any, other than the interest, there's no other development plans at the moment?
Well, there's an idea that we have to put out an RFP to solicit proposals for the barn,
The steel building.
Okay.
the steel building, yes.
Okay, good.
So Ken, is this recent? Is this just been posted? Is this a recent development?
No, it hasn't been posted yet. This is just a suggestion that because there's interest in using it, this is actually has to be taken up by the select board. The select
Right,
board is in
right.
charge of the Tremont Nail Factory,
Right.
and they're going to have to decide as to whether or not they want to put out an RFP since there's interest in the building. So they could issue the RFP and solicit proposals and see what comes in.
And I know it's not before this board, I guess the question was, but I know at one point there was interest by a tenant. Is this what Josh is referring, is that a new tenant or a more recent tenant? Because I thought that tenant had withdrawn or, no, it
Well,
was no
there
longer.
was a master developer that had been chosen to proceed with the redevelopment of the Tremont Nail Factory. They were waiting for the dam to be resolved before they proceeded, and have since apparently given up
Okay.
on their proposal to proceed. So that leaves us with several individuals who have come forward representing local businesses that are interested in expanding into the metal building.
Okay. That's good news. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this topic? Thank you. We'll just continue to monitor and get updates. All right, moving on to continued public hearings. We have a public, I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 public hearings, but we have public hearings open to discuss 2 articles, 2 zoning articles before, that will go before the town for, these are going to be both part of the special town meeting, correct? As part of the special town meeting warrant for April 21st?
28th.
8th.
believe.
Oh, 14 and 14, yeah, 28th, yes. So I can do math. So we're going to open that continued public hearing.
Make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Well, we don't have to. The public hearing's open. It's already open. We don't have to open it again. So
Okay.
we're just going to move into, so I think the order will, I think Josh has made some updates and improvements. We'll let him speak to that. We'll let the board make comment or question, and then I'll let the public comment.
Yeah, so actually there's been no change to the solar bylaw. There was one change to the solar bylaw. There were 7 exceptions in the bylaw that were granted as part of it. After having a discussion with Mrs. Cork, it actually made sense to remove an additional one of the 7, which was the allowance for public utilities to build wherever they want. The reason for that is public utilities are defined as anyone who wholesales energy back to the system. So really, a solar developer would be considered a public utility.
Yeah, we would then have a circular kind of argument.
So the only revision that has been done since the last time you saw the proposal was just the removal of the public utilities and as an exception.
Good. That probably makes good sense, because we didn't think of that at the time we wrote the original bylaw. So that represents an incremental improvement that makes sense to do sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Any other, and what about the ADU? You want to take them one at a time, or do you?
Let's take them one at a time.
Okay,
I think
so-
there's probably some comment from the public on the solar portion, so.
Okay, great. So discussion from the board on the solar bylaw?
Nope.
Mike? Jane?
Having read through it, I don't have any comments at this
Okay,
moment.
I think the recommended update makes good sense. All right, so anyone from the public who wants to speak to the article on limiting large-scale ground-mounted solar to the Business Development Overlay District. That's broadly speaking. Ms. Hayes. John, is there anyone in the ether with their hand up?
Not at this time.
Okay. So please state your name, spell your last name, and go at it.
Will do, Carl, thank you. Annie Hayes, ANNIEHAYES, 52 Farmers Lane. I don't know what noun to use, contention, belief in principles. I asked the last time we had an open hearing about this project, what the land, how much upland forest there was, thinking that that's the first area for solar, large ground-mounted solar. That's the practice in our town. And Josh did not know, and I did not know. I have since looked at topography maps. I have called Jackie. She walked me through the assessor's map so I could get all of the lots online and who owns all of the lots. And the water, there's a large open water area. There are 2 reservoirs that have already been made. I think because those are on bogs. So there's quite a bit of bog land, and then there's large chunks of upland forest. When I first talked to Josh, I thought, well, this looks like it's 80% Makepeace land, and he was not sure. He looked at the chunks that he saw on a map while we were talking on the phone, and he said he saw 50 right sort of off the bat. When I went with through the parcels, I would say 98%, 95 to 98% is Makepeace land. And that was concerning to me because I then had learned from Josh that Makepeace originally made the original business district and then changed their plan not to turn it into, I don't know, an educational, whatever, some kind of industrial, I don't know, but brick and mortar somewhere. And I think that was when they were doing the initial proposals about the whole big area. And so that sounded maybe good, that it was going to be an educational facility, maybe bogs and upland forest or whatever. But they have changed it. There was no mention anywhere in a conversation here that this district, business district, overlay business district, was engendered by the AD Makepeace Corporation. Now they've changed their prospectus on it, and it's basically all their land for solar development. And I thought, gee, if I were the AG looking at this, and I saw that the town had virtually let, you wouldn't necessarily put that in any proposal or article, but they'll see that there's a line drawn around strictly Makepeace land. And this is our solar district, which precludes any other developer, unless Makepeace goes with the argument, well, we're going to lease it to this, and we're going to lease it to that, we're going to lease it to that. That is like theoretical. That's not what we're voting for. And I feel, number one, that townspeople don't have that memory. I've asked around, like Nancy and Kathy, well, they remember because they're lands trust, et cetera. But I didn't remember the BDOD, or the DOD, or the BOD, was engendered by Makepeace, just on Makepeace land. And then there was no discussion that it is still, and they must have, I mean, I don't know, does it matter whether they agreed to it, wanted it, whatever. But anyway, that's what it is. If I were the AG and saw that there's a line around, and that was the sole developer that was in that area, I would have an issue with it, because they constantly, and I talked to Nicole Caprioli, who is the Assistant Attorney General for the Worcester District, because that's the municipal law, and she legislates or rules on these warrant articles. So she was great. I thought I was talking to the secretary, but actually I checked the name and it was the AG. She said to go to, she couldn't talk about it because she may be ruling on this, of course, but to go to this website where they have all of the rulings. Now, I don't know if you've seen all of the rulings from this branch. She said, discount the ones before 2023. So she's referring to the new set of legislation that's come down the pike and being practical and advising that. So I did look at a number of them, and I don't know if you've read them, but for example, Shutesbury's conditions for an SPR are really great. But we're used to this, but it's once again that you cannot, this is the Tracer Lane ruling, you cannot, unless for health, safety, and welfare, do anything that is going to limit solar rather than to enhance the production of solar. So I don't know if in our warrant article we have anything on the reasons of health, safety, and welfare. And I realize that this warrant article must have been, has it been published, or are we still in the stages of creating it?
The warrant article has been posted, but I think we can still make revisions to the language, right?
That's for the special meeting, Josh?
Yeah, it's for the special.
Just
If the planning board,
early next week,
right,
first.
if you want to hold a special meeting, you could do that, but at this point, you're looking at Thursday.
Okay, so over and over again, these rulings say, but you did not specify your health, safety, and welfare reasons. And I'm wondering if we do in the article for one.
So I don't believe in the article. Rather, and I'll let the board clarify, or Ken or Josh, we would, in a review or an approval of an application, that's where we would make the determinations of health, safety, and welfare specific to the application. Those would be
Specific project.
for yes, I'm sorry, to a specific project. So that would be part of the findings of fact for a specific project, and approval or denial would be based, as you say, we continue to get guidance that the main reasons for ruling on a solar project have to hinge on health, safety, and welfare. So that would not necessarily be in the bylaw, that would be in the findings of fact for the project itself.
That may be, Carl. I mean, and, you know.
Okay, that's my input.
Yeah. But what I'm reading here is that this is these rulings are referring to and responding to why disapproved or approved.
Right, yes.
From the Assistant AG, and they say repeatedly, you do not specify what health, safety, and welfare. So it seems like that's in response to the document they receive.
Which would be the findings of fact for the approval of the specific application, not the bylaw itself. I read the material you're saying.
Okay, but this is the bylaw response.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
reading the bylaw response.
No,
Okay.
but it's not, it's the finding of fact and the ruling project by project is where we enumerate the health, safety, and
Okay,
welfare.
and I do see the comment, and you would be advised to refer to town council on this. So that's basically when the actual project comes up.
Right. So if,
Site plan special permit, which requires such special permit,
Right.
particularly health, safety.
so if you remember, as we do, and I'm not going to speak to a specific project, but as we ask citizens to provide comment, we remind the citizens under the new state
State law, statute.
view of solar, that we have to focus on measurable, as you're saying, clear, measurable impacts to health, safety, and welfare. And there is one, we do have a line in the bylaw that speaks to health, safety, and welfare as being, I don't think it's not part of the solar bylaw, it might be, I don't remember, but anyway. So yes, the findings of fact and the conclusions of law, project by project, application by application, is where we need to be. Because the health, safety, and welfare impact of Project A
Different.
may be different than Project B.
So, and when you say that in the bylaw that we have, that, just those words open up all considerations from the general public about what they consider health, safety, and welfare, is that correct?
At the moment, yes.
In that specific site plan review? The Shutesbury has really good categories that are in their bylaw that the Attorney General responds to, and I'm wondering
It's
if,
in the, I didn't think it was in the bylaw. I thought it was the Shrewsbury case. It was their case,
The decision.
the decision.
yes.
It's not the bylaw, it's the decision.
But
that they-
but I think it's what they're putting into their bylaw
Okay, so.
is the categories. Did you see, I'll give this
I've
all
read it,
to you.
yes, but please
Did you
hand
get
it in, yes.
Shutesbury? Okay.
Yes, but
Good, I'm
please.
glad, thank you.
If you would like to see, and it's late, as we discussed, if you have suggestions to add to the bylaw, it's probably late for spring special town meeting, but again, we have been working at every town meeting, responding to new technology, new science, new laws. We propose improvements to the solar bylaws at every town meeting. And I encourage you and other citizens to give us input, to help us write those parts of the bylaw.
Yeah.
And I will remind everyone that fortunately, we have a grant from the state to rewrite our zoning bylaws. We have to issue an RFP for that. So we're going to be rewriting all of the zoning bylaws to
Right.
make them more integrated, comprehensive,
Yeah.
and brought forward to deal with these issues.
And it's a very large grant, so we feel
Excellent.
comfortable. And just to remind everyone that just because we are creating a district, one district, putting aside the exceptions for solar, doesn't mean we aren't looking at every single project separately, and it doesn't mean that that anyone should have an expectation that we're going to approve all these projects.
I understand
Everyone
that.
is different.
Carl has stated that over
Yeah.
and over. You all have.
Yeah.
Would you, I know this is not supposed to be a dialogue, but I'm concerned about this one owner of the BDOD. And have you played out what happens if, okay, we get a year because they won't have reviewed it for a year at the Attorney General's office. And so we get a year where everything else is off limits, and then we get this bylaw overturned because it's a, it's a monopoly, basically. And then whatever permits this monopolist has gotten permitted, with SPRs and all, they stand, and then everything else is open territory again.
Okay, so I want to remind everyone that for the landowner that you're talking about and the properties in question, this bylaw won't apply to them anyway. They already have zoning protection, zoning freeze protection under the 2019 bylaws because they filed subdivision plans for all of these lots.
Outside the BDOD?
No.
Inside the BDOD?
Inside.
So I'm saying,
Okay.
none of the properties nor this landowner will, I'm speaking broadly, I'm not looking at every precise parcel. This won't affect any of those lots.
So it's as if the line is not there except to preclude any new permitting on the outside by this same,
By any,
I know, but I'm talking about the monopoly.
So, Carl, what you're saying is that we're restricted to site plan review.
no, that's not what I'm saying.
So you're saying they have an approved subdivision on every one of them?
Yes, speaking broadly, I didn't
Okay.
inventory every lot, but they took a very aggressive stance when they saw we were rewriting the solar bylaws in January of
22?
Back up a little bit further.
Huh?
That was all done when they had a master plan.
Yeah.
Now, the master plan, in their definition, has changed 4
Right.
times. Have we updated, have we looked at the new master plan? No. They're still talking about the old master plan. That's when all them subdivisions were
But
formed.
the subdivisions don't apply to the master
No,
plan. That-
no,
yeah.
but that's when everything, everything was put before the table.
Yes.
And that's then the concept that we were under.
So,
So the games is- they're changing the rules of the game as they go,
but,
basically.
okay,
Carl, would you, would you repeat what you said about the properties, the lots within the BDOD that are theirs? They all are, basically. What do they have the right to do?
they have zoning freeze protection that says the zoning bylaws that apply to those properties are the 2019 fall town meeting version of the bylaws.
Because
So this new bylaw will not affect those properties for 8 years.
But you have said that they have SPR review
No,
within those projects.
I didn't say that at all. What I said is, that land use is subject to the zoning bylaws dated 10/2019.
Okay, but I think you have said over and over that what's in the BDOD will still be under the auspices of the special permit review.
It's under the auspices of, I want to be very careful about the language I'm using here.
All right.
Because there's some ongoing debate about what the 2019 bylaws actually says.
We don't know yet.
No, well, I'm waiting for town council, and as you know, Mr. Shannon, I'm going to speak to one, we've got several projects who are contending their opinion of what that bylaw says. Right now, the planning board's position on the 2019 bylaws is it requires site plan review with special permit.
Okay.
As of today, that has been and continues to be the planning board position.
And when will we hear from council about whether
I can't
that's
answer.
being upheld?
I can't answer that question. I can't speak for town council. And we're now getting a field. I'm trying to help you understand. All I'm saying is, you're worried about us granting some kind of special right to make peace, and I'm saying, this bylaw doesn't give them anything.
They already have it.
They already have it.
Okay, but when we're proposing this, I want the town to have the facts when they're voting. We're entitled to the facts.
You are, but I'm not sure what facts
Well,
you think are missing.
This is a new fact for me because I could hear myself hearing SPR for all of these properties in the BDOT.
Please don't say just SPR. It's site plan review with, no, it's a big deal
With special permit.
with special permit.
Yeah,
Please,
No, I know.
and now we're getting down the rabbit hole. If you say site plan review, no, Annie, so it's important to understand. If you say site plan review, that's exactly what it is. It's a review. You can't deny the application.
Right.
The board's position is site plan review with special permit, and all future versions of the bylaw have corrected that ambiguity.
No, I just use that as a shortcut.
Please,
because
it's
I won't
very-
I won't anymore.
No, no,
In
but
my
I'm saying-
mind, I know what it says.
But no, because if we use it as a shortcut,
Yeah, I won't do it.
no, no,
Promise.
I'm saying the applicants then start saying, that's,
Right, right. No, I won't ever say it again.
no, no, I'm,
No, I understand
sure-
why.
yeah,
I understand why. But I had no idea that this whole BDOD did not necessarily have site plan review with special permit.
it does.
It does.
With the planning board's, what I'm telling you, the planning, I'm not doing justices, and this is not the forum for it. What I'm saying is the planning board's position of the 2019 October version of bylaws is all solar applications require a site plan review with special permit. We have one applicant who contests that, and we're waiting. You asked me if we were going to get a ruling. I don't know if we'll get a ruling from town council or not, and that's specific to that case.
Okay, can I summarize it by saying that at any time, with the ruling of town council, site plan review with special permit no longer exists for anything within the BDOD because the site plan review does not necessitate special permit. After the council's ruling if he rules that way. Okay, but that's at any time.
Well,
That's
One more
anywhere
point.
in town, too, not
Yeah,
just within
that would
the
be
BDOD.
anywhere in town.
yeah, right.
And by the way, that could be town council's recommendation. The planning board doesn't have to accept that.
Oh, here's another wrinkle.
Well, but then it'll go to court and it'll be adjudicated.
So-
We're really going down a rabbit hole.
Oh, but it's important because time is everything here.
But it's not specific to this bylaw.
But it's the practical effect. Okay, so I would like the facts presented at town meeting with all clarity and all transparency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize. It's a very complicated, convoluted issue, and it's very hard for me to explain clearly, and I apologize if I made it more confusing. I keep looking to my advisor there, and she didn't grimace when I said anything, so. And Eric didn't grimace, so,
Eric's going to give it a try.
all right. Would you like to speak? Eric, and then I'll speak your name, spell your name, address.
Eric Lintala, ERICLINTALA, 15 Squirrel Island Road. Yeah, I've been looking more into this the last couple of weeks. I really agree with Ms. Hayes' a lot of her comments, and one of the issues that it bothers me, but it is what it is, and there is a monopoly concept happening north of 495, that whole area, but, they're the land, there's one landowner, and that's just the way it is. My whole thinking is, and I know they've got several projects in the wings that are east of this, and those will be discussed as time comes on, but the business district, I'm just thinking down the road, as long as this article is going to cover or will lock in future development if this is all passed and okayed even by the Attorney General, I think that solves a big problem for me in my mind that in the future, once this is passed, that any development would be in that district itself, period. That's my concern, that takes place. The whole, I've looked into, I understand the past of Makepeace's plans that were in the past and how things have changed, but like I said, I understand they are the landowners, and it's their property, and it looks a bit bothersome, but It's their land. There's
Right,
nothing much you
why?
can say about it.
Right, why?
Yeah, so, but I'm just thinking though, like I
Versus
said,
the alternative,
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
that's it. What is the alternative if we don't somehow lock in some kind of condition that'll control future solar development?
Correct.
That's what I'm concerned about and what I want to
That's a
send.
plus.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's
Yeah,
what the
we
attempt
understand.
of this
Right.
bylaw is to kind of get control where we can. We can't say no.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I just hope
You can tell
then,
where to go.
Yeah.
yeah, and when it's presented to town, I just hope it is, like when Annie says, to all information's out there, it's stated clearly and really, emphasizing how this will help in the future.
Speak to it, Eric.
You put me on a spot there, Sam. I might have to do that then.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Did you want to come forward? Please.
Mr. Chair, I do have one online.
Okay. So state your name, spell your name, your address, please, and then, please.
That's a lot. Okay. Judy Westgate, Westgate, 58 Ellis Ave. So it's a little bit of a question and just a comment. Having been to the public hearing in January and then at town meeting, I felt as though I had a clear picture of what the goal was of the article, which was to limit where these large solar projects can be. But I felt as though at town meeting, that wasn't necessarily, I'm assuming what people were thinking, just based on maybe how the vote went, or what people had to say. I got the sense that they felt as though the town was now going to allow this. So I feel as though sometimes the people at town meeting had the opposite idea of what was being presented, that it was being presented as like, hey, the town really wants to do these really big solar projects, as opposed to, you want to limit it. So,
Where they are. Exactly. That is the intent
Yeah.
of this bylaw. And
so I guess my comment would be that to try to make that as clear as possible at the town meeting, because I kind of feel that's why it got voted down. I don't know that.
Yeah.
But that's just my feeling.
I think, too, to give some context to it, one of the things that, in speaking with folks after, so many people had, you all who, thank you, come to all of these meetings, speak out, and are so thoughtful and informative with the information you provide. There were many people, I think, at town meeting that really had no idea how many pending and approved projects there really are out there. We were giving some folks the numbers, and they were astounded. So I think it's important to talk about the whole context of Wareham is, I won't say one of the towns with the most, but we have a very large number of projects, and this is one way to try to control that. So I think giving people more context, I think, is a great idea. I think that
And
we
maybe
really
even
should-
just
Sure.
getting the point across that it sort of starts with the state law
Yes.
and what that allows, and then how the town is trying to modify that. Because
Or work with that to exert
to make it work for
for us,
Wareham.
for our citizens and our land and our landowners, all constituents.
Yeah.
And that it's not as of right, because I think I heard some of that at the meeting, people thinking, oh, you can do it they can just do it in this district, and that's actually
That's not,
not necessarily the
it's
case.
not
So
what
I
it
think
is.
it's
They still
important
have to
say,
file an
"We're gonna go through
application."
the
I
process."
feel as though people, again, I know I go to town meeting and it's like I've barely read whatever, and I don't feel very informed, and I'm just sort of listening, so I think people come in without that basis of information that I know I got pretty clearly when I was here in January at the meeting, that it was a,
Right. So-
modification of the state law.
Sure.
And so I just felt that was really important to really try to drive that home.
Yeah.
And
Great, so we'll work with Mr. Faraday to try and communicate that. And the point that you're raising, though, is one of the reasons for zoning bylaws in particular, although the town bylaws, we have public hearings, but the planning board holds public hearings on all proposed changes to the zoning bylaws to allow the citizens, Ms. Hayes, Mr. Lintel are here every meeting. Zoning, land use laws are very complicated. And even with my attempt to explain it to Ms. Hayes, it's not. There's lots of nuance.
Again, I think a lot of people that'll be voting aren't in the weeds
Right.
like that,
No, sure.
but they also didn't have the big picture, which was, what does the state allow? What is the town trying to do?
Great. So that's good input. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I have a meeting with town council and the moderator on, later this week, so I can mention that to them, that what would be the parameters and how might we communicate this better to folks? Maybe it's some bullet points on a PowerPoint or something.
Okay. John, you said we have a citizen in the ether.
And Jane has also raised her hand to speak.
Okay. Oh, Jane, I'll do planning board comment at the end after we hear the citizen comment.
I just was going to add something that was relevant to
Oh, go ahead then.
Skate's comments. I think that it would be very helpful to put maps up on the screen in the town meeting hall. I know that they were up out in the lobby, but I know people just rush right by those, and those were not really so visible and not in people's consciousness when they were considering that article. And I think that if those get put up on the screen and, you know, a description of this is what's happening, this is where solar fields and solar farms can go right now, this is what we're proposing to limit them, you know, 3 different maps, I think that would go a long way to helping people better understand what's going on.
Thank you. John? Ms. McHale. Ms. McHale, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. Nancy McHale here, MCHALE. I just wanted to circle back to a comment that the chair made regarding the freeze plans that had been put in early when we were back in 2018, when we were working on the solar bylaw. And I don't recall these particular lots within the BDOD being subject to those. So I just was checking to see, or asking, if you've gone back and taken a look at what those freeze plans covered or not, because I've not done that, but that is a good idea.
I did it cursorily, but I was also speaking from memory. So, Josh, we talked about it. Did you look at that?
Yeah, I don't know if the lots in the BDOD have zoning protection from a subdivision plan.
So then I'll retract my belief if I'm incorrect. I was trying to help.
Yeah, and so the difference would be is if they did have a subdivision and a freeze, then they would be under the 2019 bylaw. And if they don't, then they're under a more strict bylaw that we have in place now, so.
Or if they haven't filed yet, they could be under this bylaw.
Correct.
Okay.
So timing matters for land use. So thank you. I haven't gone back. If I get a minute, I'll go back and check.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking my comment.
Thank you. Ms. Hayes, please keep it, yes, you've had way, speak your name.
Annie Hayes, Hayes, 52 Farmers Lane. I'm a special needs teacher, and I went into nursing school. And I was lost. I was a special needs student in nursing school. And, like 600 names and body parts and all, you got to memorize them. So I had a peer who was, also professionally, she taught at UCLA or something, she's coming into nursing. She said, you have to hear new information 3 times to get an idea, a picture of what's going on. And you really do. And if you haven't any background at all, at least 3 times, right? So it's so important.
Thank you.
Visuals, auditory.
And we We will endeavor to try and communicate this as clearly as possible.
I think you're getting much better all the time. Thanks.
Thank you. John, anyone else? So regarding this article, I am looking for a motion to recommend, to recommend to whom? To town council, to town meeting? We recommend to town meeting that we accept the article.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
So a motion for Mr. Corbett to recommend to town meeting that we accept the zoning bylaw to allow solar fields only in the business development overlay district. Motion by Sam Corbett, second by Ms. Moran. A roll call vote, please.
Jane Gleason, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion to recommend to town meeting to accept this article passes 5-0-0. Do we have to write, we have to write a summary, right, a letter?
Yeah, I can write it up for you. I'll give you a place to sign it.
Thank you. Okay.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close the public hearing on the article to discuss solar fields in the business development overlay district. I have a motion by Mr. Corbett, a second by Mr. Baptiste. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Jane Gleason, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair votes aye. The public hearing on this article is closed. Thank you for your participation and comment. We still have an open public meeting to enact an accessory dwelling unit bylaw and to remove the moratorium. Mr. Faraday.
Yep, so I had asked you to continue on this one because the state was actually gonna give us some new advice on how towns could implement a bylaw. The only revision that we've made is that the dimensional standards now read, there shall be no minimum lot size. However, the dimensional standards of Table 625 shall apply for all standalone and attached ADUs.
Thank you.
And I'll also say that I went to a conference where ADUs was one of the topics of discussion. And the Executive Office of Housing has actually backtracked and said that flag stops are no longer treated the way that they were, and that they're only using points of embarkation as a radius for the requirement of parking.
That's a good change, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
The whole other approach where just anywhere the GATRA bus happened to
Yeah.
Fly by.
fly by.
So, I'm currently working on a map that will just show a half-mile radius around those spots.
How many stops, how many official stops do we have in
Yeah, that was my
town?
question. Do we know?
Oh, for a town meeting, please,
Yeah.
I think we
I'll
should
have
be
the
able.
map available, but, yeah, I'll have the map available.
Okay.
Over a dozen.
Okay.
Okay.
Any discussion from members of the board?
No.
Jane? Mike? Comments from the public? Please come forward, Ms. Westgate. I got that right? Mike? I called you Miss Westgate. Did I get the?
You may call me Miss Westgate.
Well, no, my memory's not all that great all the time,
It's
so,
Judy Westgate.
you know, 15 minutes,
Long time, right?
long time.
So a few questions.
State your name so Patty can get
Oh,
it for the
sorry.
minutes.
Judy Westgate, Westgate,
Still.
still. So I have a few questions. So in this 863 requirements, when you talk about short-term rentals and who's allowed to do them, it just doesn't mention a property owner as an individual. And I just wondered if that was an oversight, or am I misreading it?
Josh,
Doesn't,
I know we talked about all the various ways you
Corporations, yeah,
could
natural
own
person.
it, but did we actually say an individual? Or was that implied or assumed, or, I don't remember the language.
We had a list.
Well, the definite,
yeah.
you see it in the corporation and the exception, which is, natural person.
I thought it said natural
It
person, but
does.
that
It
was
says
in,
it in the exception to a corporation
Right.
Yeah.
for short-term rentals, right?
I just don't see it in that section 8 of 863 requirement.
we're just,
Yeah.
if that's an import, Josh, can you look and see if that's it may have to be a floor amendment if we need to do that, or?
Yeah, can you say your concern one more time, just so I'm hearing it correctly?
Okay, so in section 863 requirements, and number 8, where it says who can do short-term rentals, and then it goes down to say short-term rentals are permitted in, it doesn't mention individual ownership of a property.
Yeah, I think we talked about this, Josh, I thought. It would be owned by a natural person or by an LLC.
Yes, a natural person would be the individual owner.
Well, I mean, it's spelling out who, it says
Yeah,
short-term rentals are
corporations.
permitted
Yeah.
by, and it lists lots of things, but it doesn't mention an individual person
Yeah.
or persons.
Yeah, I thought we had, but, so really it would be under number 8. And you really could be owned by a natural person or persons, because you could have husband and wife, or
Isn't mo-
LLC,
that's- Most
REIT.
properties are owned by just individual people or couples, right?
Yeah,
I mean, some are, put them in LLCs and trusts and
Yeah.
those
and
things.
some have husband and wife tenants by the entirety or whatever. So it's natural persons or, because that's separate from a trust with natural persons. I have a comment about that, but I'll wait till our public finishes.
All right, so Josh, can you take that under advisement and,
Yeah, I think that's an easy revision, we can add it.
okay, and
We've talked about it before,
Yeah,
a number of times.
yes.
other
So
comment?
my second question was the 862 definitions, when it's talking about short-term rental, which, by the way, I'm really glad to see this change in here, because I think it really gives property owners the flexibility that they need. But it talks about that a short-term rental is anything less than 31 calendar days, which kind of, I know a lot of people who want to rent for the month of June, or they rent July or August. So it takes June off the table, it takes September off the table. And if people wanted to rent in the winter, it would take February and April off the table. I just didn't know about the 31 days,
Yeah.
or whether it can be, 31 days or a calendar month or something like that.
So that is only restricting corporations.
It is?
Yeah.
I'm in the Article 862 definitions under short-term rental. It's just defining what a short-term rental is. And it says anything less than 31 days shall be considered a short-term rental.
Corporation.
I'm just suggesting that if you put 31 days in there, it eliminates some other monthly rentals.
All right, because it prohibits short-term rentals owned by corporation real estate, REITs and all of that.
Yeah, I don't see where that has to do with corporations. It's just the definition of short-term rental.
So we define
Right.
short-term rental under the definition.
And then we
And then-
define corporation.
And we define corporation, and then section 8 says short-term rentals are prohibited in dwelling units owned by a corporation. real estate investment trust or any similar entity.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not following you. I'm in Article 862 definitions.
Yep,
I
so,
think what they're trying to say is the only entity that is prohibited from a short-term rental is a corporation. So no one else is prohibited from a short-term rental. Whether it's 31 days or 29 days or 32 days.
Well, that's true, okay. So we're just going to limit the corporations a little bit more by doing that, okay.
That's what the
Yeah.
intent of that
They
is, whether,
can't, they can't do a short-term rental.
that's what we're trying to do, is
Yes.
prevent corporations from doing short-term rentals.
REITs, and all that.
But so
and
a
other-
corporation could do a monthly, like a 31-day.
Longer than, less than 31 days,
They
yes.
can't do less than,
Can't
they
do.
can't do less than 31, so they can do 31,
Correct.
Correct.
which means that they could, okay, never mind, we're going around in circles. Okay, that's fine. So my last question has.
Well, no,
I
but
don't-
that's the distinction. It's only trying to say corporations can't do
Right.
short-term rentals.
I wasn't kind of putting those two things together.
Right.
I was simply just looking at the definition and, like, okay. So I don't see anywhere in what I read on the mass law or what I'm seeing in the town zoning changes that disallows ADUs on wheels. I think I asked this up last time I was here, and I think someone said that it was in the math, like it's not allowed to begin with. I'm just concerned about,
Wheeling and trailers into.
I'd just like to see if we're going to have these small homes, that at least it's real estate, and we're getting real estate taxes for it. That's,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't know if what I printed out from the mass law was everything, but it was only 2 sections. And it was
So
reasonably easy to read, which was unusual.
So do you think we've limited mobile units or wheeling your camper onto the property and saying it's an ADU?
so the building code would require that it have a foundation. The Title V requirements require that it has a tie into the septic. You would have to have water access to it too. I don't think our plumbing inspector would sign off on a hose run to a mobile unit. So there are current laws that kind of define what it would be.
Constrain what it could be.
Right.
So if you try to pull a building permit for an ADU for a mobile home, then Mr. Turner would presumably
Deny it.
deny it
Correct.
because of the code. Okay.
Now
Okay,
that
so
is, go ahead.
we're not, again, so I know there's a difference between, what I'm thinking about is like what we have in our mobile home parks. So what you're saying is that what we have in our mobile home parks wouldn't be allowed by other restrictions? Because of,
So I guess if you're referencing, let's say, a single wide trailer, if it was to have, if it was connected to a foundation, if it had dedicated septic or sewage and its own water line, then the building commissioner could essentially approve it as an ADU.
But it would have to be on a foundation.
Yeah,
The same thing for
generally
tiny homes where they're wheeling in
okay, but
containers.
so does that then make it real estate taxable or excise taxable,
It'd be real estate.
even though it's a mobile home?
We would require that it was on a foundation.
So are most mobile homes not on foundations? I'm confused.
Yeah.
They're not.
Well, here's the difference. A way to think about the difference that I thought about it, only as you asked the question. And we,
Fixtures versus not.
no, in a mobile home community, a manufactured home community, the underlying land is not owned by the person who, except in.
Except in 2 cases in town.
Yeah, in town, where we've made some change. And the reason that the tax works that way is because the unit that's in the mobile home, they don't own the land. Where with an ADU, if you bring in a manufactured home and put it, the land and the owner would be the same. You would not have somebody else who owns the manufactured house and the land, which is why it would be taxable, I believe.
And
So,
generally,
I think that the separation between real property and personal property has to do with mobility.
Right.
yes.
Oh,
and generally
really?
what they
Fixed,
require is
fixed in place.
take off
net.
the wheels are removed and becomes a fixture, and
Okay.
therefore becomes real estate.
Okay, well,
Versus
So that's an
what Jane said,
additional difference in.
personal
in-
property,
yeah,
right.
Okay.
But it still has to meet all the permits as well, as Josh said.
Yes.
So Josh, I don't know, is that a clarification we want to add, or thank you. Now you're talking about getting in the weeds. I never got this far in the
But
weeds.
I think that's important.
Yes, no,
Because
it's good.
that's not what we intend to have.
Manufactured,
A camper.
mobile, a camper, or,
Yeah,
but they'd have to put it up on
a foundation, which makes it, becomes a fixture.
In manufactured, I'm looking at my, do they remove the wheels in general in a manufactured? Yes, so the wheels are,
I got a double wide, there's no wheels, no, they can move them, they can put wheels under there,
Yeah,
but I don't own the land belongs to the.
that's what the distinction I was making.
yes.
I guess I just want to make
sure that
sure that
the-
anything that we're
The
allowing
distinction
is
between
going
real
to-
property and personal property does not have to do with the ownership of the land underneath, to my understanding. That it has to do with mobility.
Has to do with what?
Mobility.
Building, can you
But-
move it?
But having watched every single house in town can be moved.
Yep.
I've watched them move. I have watched them put
But it's on there
beams
with
under
wheels.
every single house in town. So it's the same thing for a manufactured home.
Yeah.
You raise it, you put the
Perhaps
wheels
a
under it,
better
you
way
drag it off.
of separating, perhaps a better way of separating the two. Here's an example. If you are selling your house and you have light fixtures, for instance, that you need a screwdriver to remove, unless you specifically call them out, they are part of the real property. They are fixed in place.
Fixtures.
So they're part of the real property.
Because I don't know the answer to this. This is way
But,
more detailed than, I don't know what the answer to this is.
but it may be worth checking with Paul Turner on making sure.
I think the thing that needs to be clarified is the definitional difference between real property and personal property.
But in
Yes.
town, there's two parks, they own the property.
Right.
Yeah.
They own it as a co-op.
Right.
Yeah, no, but that was where I was hanging my hat on the distinction. But because it's not just necessarily manufactured homes that come in on wheels. You see advertisements popping up all over town now for tiny homes, which are containers that they're gonna wheel in. They're saying, we're gonna do this. And I don't, that was my fear all along, that's what we're gonna
Josh,
see.
if you check, there was an article in the, I think I brought it in last week.
Yeah.
You did.
In the Marion paper. There's a guy that specializes in ADU houses.
And it's gonna be containers, though, it's shipping containers.
But if it's a shipping container and it's put on a foundation, it has to meet all of the building code requirements.
But that's what I'm saying, that's not really that much different than a manufactured home that you bring in on the wheels, you take the wheels off and you dropped it on the
80% of homes
foundation.
now, I'm watching.
No, that's a very different thing, because it's not on a foundation.
No, it has to be on a foundation, that was my definition.
Right.
It has to be on, if the wheel manufactured home comes in, it has to be put on a foundation.
Well, the other difficulty with the other issue with putting mobile homes on a foundation is that typically a mobile home, as far as I understand it, they do not meet all of the building code requirements.
Okay, well, that's the other thing that Josh said, they have to meet, ADUs have to meet building code requirements.
Exactly, so by having to do that, then by definition, it has to be more than.
But a
Our
foundation,
wonderful state
camper.
legislature have told us we have to do this without thinking about all the nuance of.
but you can do a slab as a foundation.
Nowadays, they have to.
That's a
be
foundation.
mobile home. They have
Right.
to be anchored down
Yeah.
for FEMA
Hurricane.
and everything else,
Yep.
all qualifications.
Josh,
But there are
you
room
could say-
size limitations, and there's insulation requirements, and there are all kinds of things. ventilation, there's natural light, there are a lot of things that you have to do by the building code that I think are not requirements of a mobile home, whether it's a tiny home or a mobile home or something that's personal property, is not beholden to the building code.
But we're saying in the bylaw, the BDUs have, or the ADUs.
That
I'm sorry.
ADUs have to follow the building code.
Does it specifically say that, or we just inferred?
State law says that.
State law
Well,
says
and under
Yeah,
ADU,
there
we
you go.
say, and is subject to such additional restrictions as may be imposed by a municipality. So,
So it has to meet the building code.
Yep.
So that's, right now, in the short term, that's what we think is protecting us from your concern.
Could we just simply put some language in that just says, some language that would make it such that,
That, I don't know, Josh,
At
do
the
we,
home.
I don't know.
Josh?
Now we're trying to I don't know if Josh can do that in time or not. Or you can propose that from the floor.
Well, and one way that you could maybe spell that out is to say that ADUs have to fall into the category of real property and not fall into the category of personal property.
That
Real
would be a
property meaning real estate.
Easily written
Yeah.
clarification.
I like
It's a pretty cut and dry definition. I
Agreed.
think that's why there's been such an issue with real property versus real estate for the mobile homes in Wareham.
taxing.
But
And
it's, I think
SHI
that
and
it's
all of that, yeah.
holding to that very cut and dry definition between, or separation between, or distinction between real property and personal property.
You think you could add that clarification?
Yeah. And you could say, including but not limited to, we have additional size restrictions, but you could say compliance with building code, which brings in foundation and everything else.
Yeah. So if Jane, can you send Josh your suggested language?
Yeah, let me see what I can
No,
do to.
yeah, you don't have to do it this instant, but yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Ms. Hayes?
Annie Hayes, Hayes, 52 Farmers Lane, West Wareham. I remember a conversation, Jane, I think you were involved in it, that had to do with architectural aspects of these houses, and that would be under the municipal added regulations?
No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Nope. The only way we can require architectural standards is if we have them already set for the single-family dwellings in that zone.
And do we?
No.
And so a shipping container could come in and have, the right amount of light and et cetera, and it would just be a shipping container with the right amount of light and a foundation.
That would be correct.
So there's nothing that can happen, that could really change the feel of a neighborhood, never mind a town.
Yeah.
So
Welcome to the cascading consequences of our wonderful
Yeah.
I understand, but we do try to
Don't forget at
put
the
up
last,
blockades.
the last town meeting, there was opposition of having site plan review for these projects.
That's how
Where
we
it
would
would
have been
be-
able to deal with it, but
Right.
that got removed by
Well,
public
even
outcry.
that's problematic because we don't have any design guidelines in place. I think that design guidelines need to be put in place. I mean, I suppose you could put something into this bylaw about ADUs that they have to meet the design standards for the principal dwelling on the same property.
But they
But
have to
it
do
would
that
really- That would
anyway.
really be a placeholder because we don't have those
Yeah.
design guidelines in place, but.
Although the
What do you mean it could be a
existing bylaw says
placeholder, Carl?
I didn't say, she said placeholder.
I said
said
placeholder,
it
meaning
already
that
has to meet
when we get to the point where we actually are making design guidelines for residential districts in town, then they would be tied to the ADU bylaw. But right now, there's nothing to apply it to for the ADUs,
Yeah.
because there are no design guidelines for residential.
versus commercial, right.
Well, so what would be the process? I'd like to, at maybe a later time, know that the process to start getting that in place.
rewrite the
That would be
zoning
part of that
I
zoning
know,
rewrite, I
and
would
you
think.
suggested that
The
anybody
bylaw
could
rewrite.
volunteer to do that.
Well, we've got a grant to do that, so
Yes.
that would
Okay,
be
so that's
part of
coming
it.
up.
We're going to try, but
What's the time frame for that?
Are you going to
grant?
help?
Yeah, sure, I am.
It's been awarded, it was awarded in February, we're just putting out the RFP. We had
it'll be a
two
couple
people.
years.
Couple years.
Yeah, two people who, very experienced, who helped us, gave us some good ideas, and we will be putting out RFP to a whole host of folks.
Okay, but
With
2
experience
years,
in it.
there could be most important, such as maybe some design standards for shipping containers, right?
If,
There could be a lineup of
You would
things that are
have,
most
you would have to create design standards for the zoning district,
Right.
not just the ADU.
No, I know, but there could be, let's deal with this first, kind of thing. Thank you.
anyone else who wishes to speak? Anyone in the ether?
I have one.
One.
Jim. Oh, nope.
Ms. Pfeiffer?
Yes, hi. Actually, I'm Dorothy Major, 40 Chippewa Drive. Last name is Major.
And your address?
40 Chippewa Drive.
Thank you.
Just on what Annie Hayes was saying about containers coming in. It does have to follow the code. There are stretch energy codes that need to be met. There's building codes that need to be met. You're not just going to bring in a shipping container, put it on a foundation, and be done with it. With the stretch energy code, there are ERV that needs to be put in place. There are car charging systems when you build a new property that needs to be put in place. There's a lot more. You can't just bring a shipping container in and put it in place and be able to follow all of these codes. I think with anything, if you dig deep enough, you can find a reason for something, but I don't feel that that should be as worrisome as others may think. That's just my opinion. For Josh, has a revised article been posted online? Because I didn't see anything updated since the last one, but you did say that you had made some revisions.
Yep, the only modification was to the dimensional standards. And it was more of a wording than it was actually a standard change. It was a definition, defining change more than it was actually regulatory changing standards, I'd say. But
Okay, so where would I find that in the article?
it will be posted on the town website tomorrow when I get the other two suggested edits in.
Okay. And can I get an explanation of, on the last page, it's in bold print, it says, "or take other action relative thereto on the request of the planning department." What does that mean?
That is language for the actual motion that will take place at town meeting.
Okay, so it won't, so if you want to make changes at town meeting, it can be done, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure.
That goes on every article that goes before town meeting.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, so I guess that's all I have. I mean, to me, it seems pretty cut and dry. I've been looking to see if the one-year moratorium has been approved by the state, but I haven't seen that posted on their website yet, whether it was approved or denied.
No, we haven't received any word back from the AG on that yet.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, if you had received anything and it just had not been posted yet. Okay, I guess that was just my input. I don't think it's, as the board has said with all the meetings I've been to, I don't think it's gonna be as easy just to put up a building anywhere, because there is extensive code regulations that need to be followed, and I think if you get into the weeds and the minutia of it, I mean, the bylaw could really be extensive, but I think if you are requiring everyone to follow the code, then that's what has to be done. So that's my opinion, and thank you.
Thank you very much. John, anyone else? That is it. Thank you. I would like a motion, comment from the board.
Yep. 2 comments. And it's just a bugaboo of mine. We have defined terms, Josh. And generally what you do then in the text is you capitalize the defined terms.
Okay.
Can I ask you to do that? It just
And we
bothers
decide,
them as
well,
an
this was the
attorney.
thing, and we're not going to bold them. I always like my defined terms bolded, but
Yeah.
that's just
At
between you.
least capitalize them.
Let's
Yes.
leave that between you and me.
Yes, okay. But in any way, some way that they stand out that these
Right.
already been defined. The other question I had, and you know, we all also know that you don't want to put regulatory requirements within a definition. You have that, which is fine, but what I would then like to put is in section 8, and the concept is, we have a corporation, and then we have exceptions to a corporation, which is you need all natural folks to be the shareholders. So my concept is, we have, they have to submit documentation, and then subsequently thereafter, from time to time, as required under regulations established under this chapter. Maybe we're going to establish regulations, but to me, it would be submitting information, registration information, whatever, continuing evidence that they are still the natural folks are still the sole stockholders, shareholders, owners.
So we're requiring that under the rental application, and the rental applications through the Board of Health are valid for 1 year. So
Okay.
there is a time limit imposed where they would have to prove that year after
Okay.
year.
Because what I had suggested, maybe that they have to, from time to time, to confirm the continuing qualification for this exemption. Anyway.
Yeah,
But you
and-
feel that the process is going to make sure we capture that?
There's definitely a year-over-year application requirement.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if through the Board of Health, there is a new application required if there's a change of ownership. Because the actual rental certificate might be given to a specific owner.
Because keep in mind that change of ownership, you have a corporation and you have shareholders. In some jurisdictions, that's not considered a change of ownership. So I think what we need to make sure is when they come with a new application once a year, that they have to provide the corporate documentation that confirms that they have not changed the constitution of the shareholders, REIT owners, whatever. I mean, Mike, you had raised it last time that there are so many ways that they could circumvent that. I just want to make sure that we're kind of rock solid on that, so.
Okay.
Okay. No.
Any other
That's it.
discussion? Jane? Mike? Okay, I would accept a motion to recommend to town meeting to accept the article to enact an accessory dwelling unit bylaw and to remove the moratorium. Motion by Mr. Corbett,
Second,
second by Ms. Moran. A roll call vote, please.
subject to the few things that were mentioned,
Subject to the
few changes that were mentioned.
changes, suggested changes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Gleason? Aye?
Repeat what you just said.
Jane Gleason, aye.
Thank you.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion to recommend to town meeting to enact an accessory dwelling bylaw, accessory dwelling unit bylaw, and to remove the moratorium, subject to the wording changes discussed at the meeting, passed 5-0-0. The motion carries. I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Corbett, a second by Mr. Baptiste to close the public hearing. A roll call vote, please.
Jane Gleason, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion to close the public hearing carries. The public hearing is closed. Thank you all for your input and consideration. Moving on. Upcoming planning board schedule. Please know that Fearing Hill will come back before the board on April 14th. Josh, normally you give us a report on what's coming. Sonia came in and said she got an A&R on her desk like at the last minute, so I'll expect an A&R on the 14th as well then. Anything else you're aware of?
No.
Any update on Zero Maple Springs?
The building commissioner and I are meeting with town council tomorrow to flush this out. So, but likely it looks like it will be going to the zoning board. But
That's not the intent of the new bylaws.
they are protected under a zoning freeze.
Okay, so if it's an older one,
Yep.
that makes sense. That's one of the ones that's in the BDOT, right? Or does it touch the BDOT? It's
Outside of the BDOT.
It touches almost, but I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all that's on the upcoming agenda. Anything else? Okay, moving on. Other business. Status of the statement of work from Mr. Pachowski.
So I emailed it to him requesting a contract and a cost estimate. We haven't heard back from him yet.
So it would be good that we could discuss that on the 14th if possible.
Yeah,
With the applicant.
yeah, if he sends me something back, I'll send it to you guys.
We were going to respond to the open meeting law complaint. Status of that response?
It was sent to the AG, they received it, and it was also sent to the complainant, and I haven't actually got her return receipt yet, but they were sent on the same day.
Thank you. Status of the 53G account reconciliation?
No movement since the last time we discussed it.
Thank you. Solar decommissioning bond from Clearway, they were going to go back to TRC and look at it.
And look for a revised scope.
Okay, there were two other, there's some discussion were there two or one other. Certainly the Squirrel Island.
Yep.
Did we send a demand letter? Did we send a cease and desist?
So we sent the original letter, the topic of discussion with Mr. Turner and Attorney Bowen tomorrow. We'll include this on how we move forward and what the
Because they haven't even done the.
Yeah, we haven't received
saying
anything, so.
On salt or anything, they didn't even reply.
So the discussion tomorrow will be what action can we take to, get them to come back to us.
Thank you. Any other business?
No, one other thing. I just wanted, Carl, on behalf.
Yes, that would be yes.
Yeah, sorry. On behalf of the planning board, we want to, say how much we're thinking of you and your family.
Thank you so much.
At this time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other discussion, business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Corbett, seconded by Mr. Baptiste at 7:35 PM. Roll call vote?
Jane Gleason, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
The chair votes aye. The meeting is closed at 7:35 PM. Thank you all for your time and input and participation. Even though it sometimes is a little back and forth, being here and having the discussion is critical.